Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, tonight we're going to look at an LA Times article, and this is all about the pending Supreme Court case that's starting tomorrow. That's when oral arguments start. But before we dive too deep into that, I wanted to address something really quickly. There is a band-aid on my face. I do know. But it's important because vanity is not more important than freedom, and this is crucial. They did have to do a biopsy on a spot on my nose. No big deal, nothing to be concerned about. But moving forward, that's why the band-aid's there. I'll keep you guys updated. But now, let's dive into this topic. So, what the LA Times is doing here is they're kind of jibing and poking at the fact that we go back to 1300s England for our previous judicial history to interpret whether we have gun rights. Not kidding. In fact, the article even goes into, since kings prohibited their subjects in the 1200s to carrying firearms, or weapons, then we aren't allowed to carry firearms. And that's kind of what they're going for. This is bananas, and they miss the entire point because they're trying to prove the anti-gun point so hard, they completely bypass the fact that kings, subjects, subjugation, no rights. It's incredibly important. Let's dive in. I want to share this with you guys. It's in the description box below, and let me know what you think. Let's dive in. Supreme Court looks to medieval England in gun rights case. Okay, so right off that bat, it's kind of like messing, like, oh, they're so antiquated, they're going after medieval Europe. Kind of has that vibe to it, right? Listen to their point here, and it's insane how they miss the forest because of the trees. The Supreme Court is preparing to decide whether the Second Amendment gives Americans a right to carry a loaded gun when they leave home. Doesn't have to be loaded, just has to be a gun. And some justices are looking back to England of 1328 for an answer. Okay, now this is not unusual. Now this is important to understand. English history and American history are very tightly conjoined. A lot of the time they go into these established normal precedents interpreting modern law. That's why they're bringing this up. But pay attention to what they say, and they dug up some historical experts to say why we shouldn't have gun rights. Check this out, because they start with Antonin Scalia, the Heller decision, and they go down the rabbit hole. But they miss the fact that there's kings, subjects, and subjugation, because that's not the case in America right now. So, quote, by the time of the founding of this country, the right to have arms had become fundamental for English subjects. That's very true because it's a scale of freedom. Started in the 12th and 1300s and moved forward as we became more free, culminating in the Revolutionary War, the Revolutionary time period in America. Because our rights, we were breaking away from a subjugating king who was imposing taxes without representation and trampling on the rights of English citizens. But they don't mention that. They only lean on the fact that those same kings and that lineage of kings restricted the rights of the population for public safety. You can't make this up, but they don't understand. And this is important for us to just, honestly, club them over the head with this information, because this is easy to see if you aren't looking through a motivated lens. Now the court faces a far more consequential decision in the New York case to be heard this week. Do Americans have a right to be armed when they travel in a car, walk down the street, or march in a protest rally? It is a test of gun rights as well as originalism. Now let's talk about constitutional originalism. Just so happens, a lot of the justices on the Supreme Court right now do tend to lean originalist, which is why they're freaking out. But listen to this. This is where they start going in the 1200s. One group of prominent historians recently told the court that even by using Scalia's rationale of relying on the understood gun rights of Old England, the court should conclude there is no right to carry weapons in public. I don't really care what they did in Old England. I don't care what prominent historians say. The point is, we broke away from England because of the subjugation of the people of America. The colonies were being overtaxed without representation. They were having their guns taken. They were having all their property taken. They had nothing. The whole point was the rights of Americans were being trodden on by a tyrant 3,000 miles away across an ocean. And they said, nah, we're good. Which is why the gun rights in the Second Amendment are there, just like the freedom of speech. While we're hovering around freedom of speech, you don't really hear gun rights or gun control advocates ever say, oh, here we go again. We're talking about that ancient history from Greece, talking about being able to say what you want to say. No, they don't say that. They don't say, oh, ancient Rome, the stupid jurisprudence and all the legal systems. Man, if we could only figure this out ourselves. You never hear that. Because it doesn't make sense. It's stupid. The whole point is this is progression forward towards freedom, not revisionist into an ancient time when you had no rights. Beginning in the late 1200s, Kings had issued proclamations prohibiting being armed when traveling in public or entering the city of London, the group noted. That's the prominent historians. Yeah, late 1200s, the king made a proclamation, said, well, you have to do this. You have no choice. You are my subjects, under pain of death and loss of all property. That's the whole point. The whole point is we have those rights and the government can't do that. But these guys are saying, well, kings did it in the past, so there's precedent, so you can't have guns. They're missing the idea of freedom out and out. And in 1328, the Parliament adopted the Statute of Northampton, which said, no man great nor small, except the king's servants in his presence, shall go nor ride armed by night nor by day, in fairs, markets, nor in no part elsewhere, or forfeit their armor and their bodies to prison at the king's pleasure. Yeah, it's arms control by a king, a monarchy, one person. I am the state, Louis XIV. What else do you want, people? And they wrap this part up right here. This is where the end of the article. And check it out for yourself. But this statute, which stayed on the books until the mid-20th century and was adopted by several colonies in the late 1700s, has emerged at the center of the debate over the pre-existing right that became the Second Amendment. Yes, because all of the examples that you use were subjugation. They were complete and total tyranny by one individual who was part of the Lucky Sperm Club, who talked down and got to run everything because who he was. Or she was. Don't discriminate. The point is, this is a model. This is a model towards freedom away from those examples. This is not a model of freedom to go back into the idea of subjugation because we're safe. Freedom's messy and it's never safe, but it's freedom. And that's what I have for you guys. And I will see you tomorrow morning on the bullet points. I'm Braden. See you later.